I'm so excited to welcome Natalie, business coach who specializes in working with kind-hearted, ambitious female entrepreneurs who crave confidence, making an impact, and authentically growing their business. So, hello, how are you today?
Hi, I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I would love for you to kind of share a little bit about you, who you are, and a little bit of your story as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So my story kind of begins in 2019. It was really like the beginning of me diving into personal development, just like becoming absolutely obsessed with it and reading all the books and doing all the things. And then it was about halfway through 2019 that I really discovered meditation after getting out of a toxic relationship and just really needing to like dive into myself. And it was something that I wanted to explore. I was hearing about, but I never really understood it. And so I went to a class in LA and I was hooked. I was like, wow, like it can feel this good. This is amazing. So I started going there about every day for about like 6 months, and honestly was just obsessed. And it totally changed who I was. Like, I felt so much better. I felt like things didn't bother me as much. Like at work, like I was like, oh, an email from this person and they're insulting me. That's okay. Like your capacity for like handling things is like just expanded. And
Yeah.
then even like with insomnia, that was something that I was really struggling with pretty much my entire life. And that was the first time that I was ever able to actually fall asleep within like minutes and be able to do so without needing like TV or noise or anything, like as a crutch. So that was pretty powerful. And then it was beginning of 2020. Which was like COVID. I had just put out a meditation that I recorded just to like help people because I knew that they were struggling so much with just like the anxiety, the fear of the unknown, and like not understanding what was going on. And I knew how powerful this tool was and how much it had helped me that I was like, I'm just going to record this. Like, I don't know why, but I'm just going to put it out there. And I got really great feedback where people were like, wait, you should do this like as a career. Like your voice is just meant for this. Like this is so soothing and calming and so helpful. And so I was like, okay, like I've always been the student, but am I now becoming the teacher? And so that was really the beginning of my journey. And so I started teaching for a few different companies and just helping their employees virtually through virtual meditations. And that was really, really like fulfilling and amazing. And then March 2021, I lost a friend to suicide, and that was like really tough. And for me, like when something happens, I'm like, okay, not one more person, like I need to do something about it. And so I created a business out of it. I created an e-commerce business to help break the mental health stigma, to help uplift people, to remind them that they are enough and that they matter in this world. And that business, like I had no idea entirely what I was doing. Like e-commerce was a whole new world for me. And so it was like a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of learning. But a year later, I got an email from Cosmopolitan and it was like, hey, I'm an editor here at Cosmopolitan and we'd love to feature your brand. Like we think it's amazing. And so that business then got published in the magazine and online. And like since then, the business just runs itself and it's been like the most amazing thing. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so that's been really fulfilling. And then this year I was like, okay, I understand how powerful businesses can be, and I want to help other people amplify like their impact and also just to help them do what they feel called to do because I know how much my fear and my self-doubt has gotten in the way of me really helping people and doing what I was called to do. And so knowing that, I really pivoted this year not just to like helping employees like cope with their stress, but really helping people build their business. And I understand like so intimately, like even this conversation we're going to have today, where emotions do play a huge role in business.
Yeah.
And you can really use them like for your benefit, or you can really let them take you down.
Yeah. Oh my God. Your story is so incredible. First of all, going back to like the beginning of your journey of committing to something every single day for 6 months, like that is incredible. And if anything, like that lays like a solid foundation to be fully committed within yourself, fully committed within your business, multiple businesses now. And that is just so incredible. And I do have to say, like, your story, the way that you show up, your content, your marketing, everything, your brand is just like a breath of fresh air, honestly. Because, in the online space, again, there's so much negativity, there's so much like comparison, and the way that you position yourself and your business mission is incredible in, your e-commerce business, but also your coaching business as well. And to be able to put yourself out there and continue to share your story, but not only that, help other female founders create a story of their own as well, while being like heart led, and that's incredible. So thank you so much for sharing all your whole business journey. I'm sure like there were a lot of ups and downs, and there were probably so many moments of doubt, or so many moments that were like really difficult for you. So, leading into the topic today, we're going to talk about navigating emotions in business, conversations around emotional intelligence, and, like how to utilize negative emotions to propel your business, especially being in the online space. It's so easy for us to have, it's like this gateway to compare ourselves, or really internalize business. I don't want to even say failures, but business like mistakes, or if you're stagnant within your business, or lack of momentum, falling off like the wagon or anything. And as female founders, we really internalize all of that. And I think what makes a successful entrepreneur is being able to acknowledge that there's going to be ebbs and flows. Like it's just part of business, it's part of entrepreneurship. But I want to go into like the nitty gritty about like how to navigate that, right? And so you work with a lot of your clients to really navigate emotions in business. What would you say is like the number one obstacle many female founders face when it comes to emotions, or like the walls that they face in their business? What is something that comes up quite often, would you say?
I would say, it's one of those things where like you're kind of your biggest roadblock, and it's just like acknowledging that you can get out of your own way, and like you can get support to help you as well, because a lot of times we think that we have to do things on our own, and that the way that we've been taught is the only way. And when you actually get the help and you realize like there's an entirely different way of looking at emotions, it can completely transform your business, and it can completely transform like different aspects of your life as well. So it really is just like being the person to acknowledge and be like, okay, I need to get out of my own way and realize like this is something that affects my business. Like it starts with me. So
Mhm.
I would say just you.
Yeah, 100%. I would also like to add on to that. When it comes to like being a business owner, it can be so difficult because we are in the driver's seat. Like when you compare it to a 9 to 5, or like, a corporate job or something like that, you get to clock in, clock out, right? But when you are, working in your business, and it's your creativity, it's your like your way of thinking, your personal branding, all of those things just kind of really kind of throw us off our
Mhm.
course sometimes, and we tend to really take it personally, right? What would you suggest for those who are taking everything personally, making like overthinking, feeling overwhelmed about these things? What would you suggest for them to do when they face moments
Mhm.
like that?
So there's sort of like two things, which is one, just acknowledging what it is that you're experiencing and understanding the message that it's telling you, because a lot of times like the way you feel can can really just be telling you something that you need to understand, which can change your course of direction. And
Mhm.
so it's understanding like what it's telling you rather than making it about who you are. Because a lot of times we internalize those things and we say, okay, because I am feeling really doubtful, like that means I suck. When really it's just like your doubt is trying to show you a potential for growth, and it's really trying to show you like your golden shadow essentially.
Mhm.
And so that's the first thing is like acknowledging it for what it is, like just as a messenger rather than who you are. And that allows the separation and the distance to really get you to like see it from outside of you rather than in you. And that makes a huge difference when you realize that it's something that's driving you and you can sort of control your reactions to it and your awareness to it rather than letting it like be you.
Mhm.
So that's the first thing. And the second thing is really just like knowing how to recalibrate yourself. So a lot of times this can look like as simple as going for a walk. Like there's something about movement, something about just like going for a walk that helps your brain get movement and just makes the juices like flow.
Yeah.
Or meditation, I think is the best way to recalibrate. Like knowing, okay, I need to just take a step back. I need to come back to me, calm myself down, and just like even it doesn't even need to be like calming yourself down. It could be just doing a meditation on creativity or doing something for productivity and momentum,
Mhm.
just something to really help you shift your emotional state can
Mm.
make like such a difference. So the number one thing is like understanding it's not who you are but what it is, and then two, recalibrating and really realizing that recalibrating in that time is actually more productive than forcing yourself and sitting in those emotions. Like taking the step back sometimes is more productive, and you end up getting more time in your day back because you took those 15 minutes, rather than like sitting in it for 3 hours, which
Yeah.
I know, like I've been there, I've done it, like I get it.
Hmm. So from what I'm hearing is like emotional resilience is something that you need to
Mhm.
be actively working on. It's almost like you have to exercise it versus it's gonna naturally come to you when timing is right. It's something that you actually have to like put yourself out there, get outside of your comfort zone and work on it, whether that is to spark creativity, whether that's movement, any kind of like way for you to put your best self out there in order to um navigate your emotions in a more productive way from day to day when we are faced with, of course, daily business challenges, or weekly business challenges that come up. One of the most common, I would say, obstacles or mistakes that I see female founders struggling with is making like permanent business decisions or making like pretty set in stone business decisions off of emotions, right? Like
Mhm.
scrapping launches 2 days in because no one bought, or feeling like they have to reinvent the wheel, whether that is like their marketing strategy or their branding, and almost like putting your almost like that self-sabotage of all of the different things that you've built up within your business because you felt some type of way about that. And so when it comes to something like that where we are making these business decisions based off of emotions, what is, again, every entrepreneur is different, but what would you say is a good ratio in terms of acknowledging your emotions, but also making calculated decisions in business?
That's a really, really good question. And I think that's something that's going to be honestly personal to everyone, and just
Yeah.
like how you are and how you run your business. And it's going to be something where, like, okay, well, why is it that you are fearful? Like, is there something that you could be doing that's better in your launch? Like, is there something, like, really uncover what that's trying to tell you? Like, is there a different way that you can think creatively to make it better? So again, like it's like looking like what is it telling you? Like what's its archetype? What's the message there? And understanding that, and then also understanding like, okay, this emotion, like, is this a like higher level emotion or lower level emotion? And like, is this my wisest self or is this not my wisest self? Like, it's one of those things, like, even just like being a woman, like when you're getting your period, you probably don't make the best decisions. So it's like one of those things when you start to become really aware of yourself, and like how your emotions influence you. And that comes with just like awareness and building that muscle. You
Hmm.
can understand like, okay, like when I acted on this emotion that one time, like how did that pan out for me? And so that's where it becomes personal, because it's like, was that emotion really, when you played on that emotion, did that lead to a beneficial outcome, or did it really like go the other way? So you start to build this like sort of bank of resources telling you like how these emotions play for you and whether you should follow them or not.
I love that so much. And I want to kind of throw some examples out there of like what it even means to have like incorporate emotional resilience within business. I think one of the examples that kind of pop up is like navigating difficult client conversations, right? Let's say, it's inevitable to have client conflicts about whether it's missed payments, whether it's like, um, miscommunication or level of expectations, all of those things. And I think a great exercise to lean into is this going to matter in like 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 years, like down the line,
Mhm.
is this going to make or break your business? And so I think that is a great exercise to think about. And again, like throwing out different examples when it comes to navigating emotions in business, whether that's client conflict or what are some other like examples you can think of when it comes to emotional resilience in business, would you say?
I mean, I think a huge one, and this is one that I think a lot of people face, is like just your like what's going on in your life. Like that's a
Mm,
huge one. Like your
yes.
relationships, how your family's doing, your health, your well-being, like how every aspect of your life is going, and like not letting that sort of influence your business. But it's also hard not to, because you're human and like this is your life. Like
Mm,
your business is one pillar of your life and you can't necessarily just like separate them,
yeah.
because they all make you you. And so when you're navigating like really tough times, whether that's something with family or with yourself, that's a huge one that calls for emotional resilience. And that's like one that you really realize like how tough and strong you are, and how well you can show up in your toughest times really just shows like another level of success in your business that money can't really account to, because it's like your strength is also, this wealth within you that is not like what money will entail. Like you could have so much money, but you could be going through the toughest time in your life, and
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that you feel successful. That does, like, you probably don't feel successful if everything is great in the money department, but other aspects of your life aren't.
Yeah.
So that's really where, like, even my approach as a coach, like, I look at business from a very holistic lens of really not just supporting the business, but supporting the human behind the business, because we need to make sure that like everything in your life is going well, like that things are really moving. Like where can you use support just as a person? Like you're
Mm,
not just like a female founder and then that's just like everything that you're about. Like no,
yeah.
you're human too.
Yeah. Also, to add on to that is like when you make business like your only focus in life, it can be really debilitating for yourself in the near future because again, you've only associated yourself as a female founder. You're going to start growing resentment towards your business
Mhm.
because you're going to feel like you've lost yourself in your business and you don't have any identity outside of that, right? And I feel like that makes it really difficult for those who are wanting to embark in hobbies or wanting to leverage a personal brand is like they lost themselves in their business. And saying this, like I think like each female founder has had a point in their business where they felt like that, right? Like that's all I'm thinking about, that's all I'm focusing on, that's all I'm working on, and I'm starting to lose myself. So really like leaning into like different hobbies and life and relationships and putting your best self like out there in the world to put yourself, your best self out there in the world. Also something that I thought of as well, once when you're sharing that about things that are going on, I would also say like projecting your feelings as well, right? Like
Mm.
feeling some type of way about money mindset, or feeling some type of way about investing or working with someone, or whatever it is, and having that trickle into your sales conversations or the way that you create content as well. I feel like that is a major thing that I see a lot is, maybe you feel some type of way about wanting to land your next client or something like that, right? And so to navigate those emotions going into a sales conversation or like a potential client reaching out to you, the way that you're going to navigate that conversation is going to look really different when you have a really strong like self-awareness moment when it comes to that, right? So really making sure that you are putting your best emotional resilience out there, so you're not projecting any type of feeling, and that's something that you're working on internally. I love that you kind of also share like life is a struggle sometimes, we go through things and it's just all part of it. Something that I highly recommend for those who are tuning in, and I want to know your thoughts on this as well, but sharing that you are going through you're struggling in a way, right? For me personally, I tread lightly on this. Like I talk about like
Mhm.
life has been kicking me in the butt, or I've been struggling with momentum or motivation or productivity, creativity, and normalizing that conversation, normalizing that in the industry, and you're calling people in who get it, and it makes business feel a lot less lonely. So I kind of want to know hear your thoughts on sharing things when it comes to like your
Mhm.
personal struggles on social media and your business account.
That's a really good question, and I'm gonna be honest, like I don't have that one fully figured out. And it's something that like I've been thinking about a lot recently, just like as I've been navigating like some pretty serious illness, like alongside my business,
Mm-hmm.
and not like letting that reflect in my business, because I want people to also realize like no matter what you're going through, like you can still keep moving forward. And it's one of those things that like you want to do in spite of whatever is going on, not like because of that, that like you have the excuse to like shut down and like not focus on your business or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that I feel like one, you have to be fully healed from yourself, or you have to realize like, okay, is this actually for the best of like my audience? Like, is this me just like wanting to emotionally like unleash and like kind of put that out there so I feel better? Or is it something that I genuinely feel is going to help people?
Mm-hmm.
And really understanding like what that's like. And so I think also like the format really matters. Like I've talked about on a podcast episode that I'm releasing, like I talked about my grandma going through cancer, and like how my stepmom was like just absolutely like distraught and like really just not okay over the past few months, and like having to navigate that. And I probably will do another episode as well as like just navigating my own illness, like alongside everything. But it's one of those things where like you really have to ask yourself, like, is this for the best of my people? Or
Mm-hmm.
is this just really me wanting to feel better for myself by like communicating that?
Yeah, I think what is important to recognize is that you don't need to share like everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like like whatever your comfort level of sharing is like for you to figure out and for you to
Mm-hmm.
navigate. And so like I totally relate to you in the sense of navigating, is this too much or is this not enough? Should I be sharing this? Should I not? Is it beneficial for my audience? And for those who are tuning in who are feeling the same way, I want you to kind of think about like what you want at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day. Like what are the intentions behind it? And so, you know, something that I personally, I don't want to say regret, but something that I personally like look back on um when I was 20 or 20, or yeah, around 20 or 21, I forget the time goes by. Like COVID was just all crazy. So 2021, my dad passed away and it was really like sudden. It was predictable but sudden, but I didn't know how to navigate running a business because at that time it was like I hit my first five-figure months. I had a reel go viral, like hit like 1.5 million views, which was like very uncommon, like when reels started rolling out. And so I was like, oh my God, my business is on this high. But internally in my life, I was at my lowest. And so
Mhm.
I had no idea how to navigate this. And I pushed all those feelings aside and to not share, like, just kind of moved on really quickly from it. I talked about it in a way, but really surface level, very like lightly. And that's what felt comfortable for me because I needed to continue to show up to be strong for myself. And
Mhm.
so whether, it's going through, self-doubt or, mental illness or grief, so many different factors, like even a relationship breakup and, to be able to tread lightly for yourself and not be so hard on yourself to either share too much or not share enough, it's really up to you at the end of the day. But I think part of a personal brand of being like honest to your audience is by being honest with yourself and
Mhm.
say even like sharing something, whether it's like I'm not putting my best self forward the next few months, I know, but I'm bringing you along in this journey and I'm talking about like how to navigate that, or there's going to be bad days, there's going to be good days, and to be able to share those things in a relatable way, I think is so beneficial and makes the community so much stronger. Yeah, what are your thoughts on in terms of like building community by sharing like aspects of how you're feeling emotionally
Mhm.
in that way?
I definitely think that, being vulnerable, like Brene Brown says it, vulnerability is the key to authentic connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do believe in that. Like, I always believe that, you should have like honest conversations and never feel like you have to like hide parts of yourself. And that is where it's like, how do you have that conversation when it's like on social media and it's like not like, how do you have it when it's just like you posting about it and you not necessarily like getting the reaction back or like
Mm,
in a like normal, natural way, like how we're having now, right? So like
yeah.
understanding that social media is just like a different kind of conversation, and so it might just be handled a little bit differently.
True.
But I do think that it is really important just in terms of like not like people knowing that they're not alone. Like I do
Mhm.
think that there's so much that and hearing other people's stories, you realize like, oh, like, okay, like I'm not the only person who struggled with self-doubt and like didn't believe in myself. I'm not the only person who, was like going through things and still like not knowing what to do about it. I think there's a lot to be said about like being able to show up for other people and using yourself as a way to like be a beacon of light for others and just let them know that they're not alone. And even like there was another business coach whose podcast I was listening to, and she talked about her health journey and like what she was going through. And it led like to another piece of my puzzle of like uncovering like what's going on. And I was like, I didn't actually realize like all these things that she listed that she was struggling with, that's like similar to one of the things I'm struggling with. And then she talked
Wow.
about this other piece, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize this. So there is like an education piece to it as well, which like I know just going through what I've been going through, there's so much lack of education
Yeah.
that people don't understand. And so it's like if, you were to share about it, like you actually could help people. Like you really could help them like save their life or, just help them like go through the tough times and be that light for someone in their darkness.
Yes, I love that so much. And you even see like stories where like there were like TikToks, for an example, where someone was showing up on there on a video and I think they had a swollen like thyroid
Mhm.
gland, and a doctor commented and was like, "Hey, I think you have a problem with your thyroid." Just like, I saw you on my For You page. You should probably get that checked out. And they did. And there's so many different stories like that. And I think something that I've also heard or learned, and that is navigating conversations. When
Mhm.
you are having conversation with someone, it's either, asking them like, would you like me to listen, or would you like my advice? And I think that
Mhm.
is so key in terms of navigating conversations emotionally, and like spiritually, and like, so many different ways on social media, is by setting the intentions like, do I want people to listen to me, or do I want to listen to my audience, or should I be giving advice, or vice versa, right? Um, and really like setting that tone, I think allows to have a more controlled conversation around things without, feeling like you're putting your most vulnerable state out there, expecting a type of
Mhm.
conversation coming from it, and that not happening, or happening in like full fledged. And so I think like to almost like emotionally position yourself, or emotionally set yourself up for success as well when navigating vulnerable stories, whatever is going on in your world right now, I think is really important, right? And so I think like even emotionally preparing for
Mhm.
the smallest things, I would say, in business, like emotionally preparing yourself for showing up on video, right? Because again, we can be so like hard on ourselves about like, I don't like the way my skin looks. I need to get my hair done. I need a full glam in order to show up on video. And I think even emotionally preparing yourself for moments like that, right?
Yeah, you almost need like a routine and also just understanding like how do I shift my state
Mhm.
um into and honestly it takes practice. Like and it's funny because I started playing around with TikTok and the ones where I was like done up did not perform as well as the ones where I was just like sitting in my chair just like randomly working and I was like I'm just gonna hit record
I feel you.
and like no makeup like just in my PJs still and those ones perform the best. So it's like it really doesn't matter like how you are, just showing up is so important regardless. But then even if you need like having a routine, like honestly before our podcast I did 10 jumping jacks because I was like I know this like gets me pumped, like I know that this gets me like excited and gets my energy levels up. So knowing like if you need to throw on like your favorite song and just like dance to it before you hop on like before you hit record because it really just gets you in that like state and it really just like gets your brain and your body moving and you feel confident because you're just like, yeah, Tiesto, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. So, it's, and like, even if it is like doing your makeup to make you feel more confident, but just really acknowledging like, what is it that I need to lean into for myself to make myself like feel the most comfortable in the way that I need to show up? And whether that's like showing up on camera or whether that's just like showing up in your business, like what do you need to do for you that ultimately is like going to help you in your business and realizing like you taking care of you is also one of the best things that you can do for your business, like knowing that you going to the gym, like you meditating, these are all productive things for your business because if you don't take care of your physical health, like if you don't take care of like your mental well-being, the way in which you show up is just not going to be optimized. So it really is like optimizing yourself is optimizing your business as well.
I love that you did jumping jacks before recording today. And like before every single masterclass, and I know like during the masterclass for those who have participated before, like being confident on there and like
Mhm.
articulating well and everything, but like literally the most truthful thing I'm ever say is the fact that before every single masterclass, I have so much anxiety. Literally like
Oh yeah.
gagging, almost like vomiting anxiety.
Oh
And
yeah.
like you go through these courses so many times that you know yourself. You're able to catch yourself. So you're like,
Hmm.
oh, I know I'm gonna like be really anxious before a master class with so many people who are joining. I know I need to drink water. I know I need to eat. I know I need to like put on some music to pump me up because if not, like it's not gonna go well. And so I just love how we're both like navigating the like knowing ourselves so well
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
sense of predictability
yeah.
and knowing the tools and knowing what you need to do in order to make yourself feel better to carry on. Um, I loved our conversation so much today, and I would love for you to, share with those who are tuning in a little bit more about like how they can work with you, where they can find you, and some things that are happening in your world right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just like love this conversation as well. And like even just you talking about the anxiety before, like I can totally relate. And it's one of those things where you really just like normalize it over time. Like the anxiety gets a little bit better each time, but for anyone who's like starting their business, knowing like even the people who have been doing this for years still struggle sometimes, and that's totally normal.
Mm.
But if you want to work with me, I have my private mentorship, Elevate, and that's the best and number one way to work with me. My Instagram is at coaching.by.natalie. And what's going on in my world is I am going to have like a little birthday surprise similar to you, because we're both Feb babies. And
Yes.
but I'm towards the end of the month, so I'm a Pisces, and I believe you're an Aquarius because your birthday is
My
Friday,
birthday is
right?
this Friday.
So
Well, for those who are
exciting.
tuning in, it might be a different date, but
Yeah.
February 9th. But I swear like Aquarius, Pisces, like they overlap. It's
Hmm.
interesting in that way. So I can definitely feel like the same energy and vibes going on here.
Oh yeah, it's the Feb. It's just like the
Yeah.
Feb vibe. Yeah. But yeah, if you want to reach out to me about anything, like I'm always happy to support anyone, and I just would love to hear like how this episode was for you, what you're going through, and like if there's any way that I can support.
Incredible. I'm definitely gonna tag all of your socials and all of your information in the
Yeah,
show notes. So if you're tuning in, you can check that out in the show notes. But thank you so much for being on here. I loved our conversation today.
me too. Thank you so much, Vicky.